Hey, this is Shelby,
And this is Jess.
and welcome back to the League of Extraordinary Readers. This week, we have a guest who Jess and I absolutely love. Jess, do you want to introduce our guest?
Yes, so today we have Nathan Harris. Nathan Harris is the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Sweetness of Water, which was an Oprah's Book Club pick, the winner of the Ernest J. Gaines Award for Literary Excellence, and longlisted for the Booker Prize, the Carnegie Medal of Excellence in Fiction, and the Center of Fiction First Novel Prize. He holds an MFA from the Meitner Center at the University of Texas and lives in Chicago. And Amity, which is out today when you hear this, is his second novel. So welcome, Nathan.
Thank you
Welcome.
guys. Thank you. So happy to be here.
We are happy to have you. How you doing this week?
I'm doing fantastic. There's always nerves when a new book is coming out. It's a lot. You spend so much time by yourself with the story, and then all of a sudden it's like your baby is given out to all these readers and you meet them all and it's just a lot. But it's so far so good and I'm excited for whatever comes next.
We are
Awesome.
excited for you. What do you have any like preparation that you do leading up to pub day to kind of like ease your nerves or just get you in the mindset of like you're about to go on book tour and all that sort of stuff?
Um, a good old fashioned helps, no, just not meditate, but just try to, think things over, and sit with the book and reflect on the process and with all the positive feelings I had for the work and all the inspiration that went into it. And yeah, no, just again, try to be optimistic because, you know, it's all good in the end of the day.
Yeah, totally,
Sounds
totally.
good. I don't know. I think book tours, like authors are our celebrities. Like as a
Hmm.
self-proclaimed like book nerd, I can only imagine what y'all go through because I've met so many of my favorite authors because of the podcast, because of the content that I create. And I have to like really stop myself from like screaming in y'all's face because I get
Yes.
so excited. Like
Yes, it gets
I've
real weird.
it gets weird fast. So it's cool to know that you just, old fashioned and, just get your
Yeah.
mind right because then there's people like me. I met Walter Mosley a few months ago and I was like, I really want to scream in your face, sir. Like I really like you don't understand. I've been reading your his book since I was a teenager. So I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
I felt like I was being Beyonce. He was just like,
Whatever. It is what
yeah,
it
he was
is.
just so chill. And I'm like, you don't get it. So it's cool to know
It's
that
so
you
funny. I mean, we're just like you. I always think
Yeah.
like celebrities in Hollywood, actors and actresses, like they're born for that. They're theater kids. They love to be on stage. But I'm just, a small town kid who was reading books and started writing, and somehow I ended up here, but it feels different. I think it's a little more uncomfortable for us sometimes, but it's such a blessing. And to see that we have that effect on readers, it's fantastic. I'm happy to be in the position that I am.
awesome. So, without spoiling anything, Jess and I are both in about the halfway point of Amity.
Mhm.
Um, and thoroughly enjoying it. I think one of my
Yes.
favorite things about your writing is how detailed you are. Like I really can sink into the book and kind of just go on this adventure with your characters. What I've immediately noticed in Amity is that you chose to highlight a sibling relationship in the same way that you did in The Sweetness of Water. Is there a reason behind that? Are you an only child? Do you have siblings? What is the thought process behind the sibling relationship for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm the youngest of four,
Mhm.
all boys, all
Oh.
boys. So yeah, it was a bit of a zoo growing up. We were kind of all just they kind of raised me in a way. But I don't know. It did not cross my mind when writing Amity that I had had a sibling relationship in my previous work, but
Oh,
it must have some effect, my past. I think that it's such fertile ground for all the things I look for in any sort of relationship that I'm going to write about, just in terms of the tension that might be between you and a sibling, the love, all the different sort of emotions that you share and that you have growing up, and drifting apart at times, coming back together at times. That's just all the sort of things I want to explore. But it's just interesting because for me in the book, that's an important relationship. But I also think of Mrs. Harper and Florence, her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important relationship,
Mm-hmm.
for better or for worse, lots of for worse. I won't spoil anything for readers, but Mr. Harper and June and what goes on between them. Every relationship for me, I want to find all those different angles to look at it and make sure that when I'm writing it that there's a lot under the surface to unpack for readers.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Mrs. Harper was she's very interesting.
Yes.
She is
Yes.
One
very
way to put it.
interesting.
Yes. Very a solid, interesting character to follow with throughout the book. She keeps the book eventful, to say the least.
Yeah,
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 she was I can't like place who came to mind for her for me, but I'm
Mm.
like I know her from somewhere. Like I know this like I don't know, it's something about her that's familiar. I'm gonna have to sit with it. You might get a
Mm-hmm.
random
yeah.
DM from me in caps
It's
like it's
okay.
this character. I
It'll
Yeah.
come
remember.
to you. Like she embodies being a character in a way.
Mm-hmm.
She's a trip, and I think of my characters like I'm spending time with them, and she was kind of annoying, but you also have this sympathy for her. For people who are listening to the podcast, she's the mother of the daughter, Florence, who goes on this journey with Coleman, who's one of in the siblings, one of the two siblings, and she's just been through a lot herself, and she might come across as annoying, but she has her own trauma, and I wanted to try to get to that somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's a lot.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something Jess and I talk about a lot, like viewing your parents as a person, right?
Yeah.
I
Mm.
think for a lot of our lives, we see our parents as our parents, right? Because that's what we know them as. We need them. Even well
Yeah.
into adulthood, we need our parents, no matter how much we want to be, oh, I moved out and I'm independent or whatever. There's nothing like mommy. There's nothing like daddy. So I think that's interesting because we talk about that a lot. Once you start viewing your
Mm-hmm.
parents as just, I tell my mom all the time, like, you're just a girl. You're
No,
just a girl
Yeah.
literally.
figuring out life the same way that I'm just a girl figuring out life. So there has to be some sort of grace extended, although I still need her. She's just a girl. We just two girls, figuring stuff out. So
100%. I'll have moments where I'll talk to my dad and I don't know, I fall into patterns of, when I get mad at him. And I realize it's an anger that's born of something that happened 20 years ago. And I'm like, Nathan, why are you tapping into that? And I think when I'm writing characters, you can fall into stereotypes or thinking of them in those sort of patterns, and you have to step back and think, well, how would this other person in the book think of this character? Or what has this character been through that you're not tapping into that would cause them to act this way? And
Mm.
it's that sense of empathy, I think, that really adds depth to characters and helps us just connect with everybody in our lives, whether it be parents or friends or whomever. So I feel you
Absolutely.
on that. I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What was your writing process like for Amity, and how does it differ from The Sweetness of Water?
Both books were just born from, just research, really. I've always just been curious, a curious person, and really interested in history. So Amity was born kind of the same way that Sweetness was, in that I was just reading about what had been going on during that time period, during the 1850s on. And I just read this, little tidbit about Confederate loyalists who moved to Mexico after the Civil War. And in the same sense with the sweetness of water, I just had this curiosity about what the days immediately after the Civil War ended were like, those first days of freedom for freed slaves. I started to think about these individuals who went to Mexico to just find this new lifestyle to recreate what they had in the South before the war, and they brought along what they considered to be their slaves, but they were freed at that time by definition, but they forced them along on that journey. So I read about that. It was just like a paragraph or two, and I just put it aside. I was like, that's interesting. It won't help me with what I'm doing right now, but it just sort of germinated in my mind, and I just wanted to explore it further and further and further, and that's how the main characters, Coleman and June, came to me, the brother and sister. So yeah, in terms of day to day, I just get up and write. I connect with the inspiration from, again, that those first few bits of research I did, and everything just sort of flows from it. And I'll spend the first, few hours every morning just trying to sit with it, and I always say it doesn't matter if you write 500 words or 1,000 words, just make contact with the work, sit with the characters, connect with the characters, and eventually good stuff will come from it. It can be hard, but good will come from it. And I think it all worked out in the end here. It's worked for 2 books so far.
Yeah. Didn't Walter Mosley say something different, similar to this as well, Shelby, when he was talking about his writing process of just sitting there and writing and like just
Yeah.
getting at it? I think it's so interesting that writers are like they really dedicate the time and they just go in and just sit with the characters, go through it and mull through it and really take the time to like draft it out. And it becomes this beautiful book in the end. Like it's just all in your head and you were just reading something totally different for The Sweetness of Water and then you came across this. So I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to have grace with everybody in your life, but especially as a writer, you have to have grace with yourself. And you have to be able to know that some days, it's not all, you're not going to feel wholly inspired, but you got to sit there with the work. You got to just see what comes to you, and trust in that, if you sit there long enough, it will become this book that you wanted. So yeah.
I think
Yes.
when you put it that way too, it's I think it's more tangible for people because I think um especially in what Jess and I do, where we're constantly reading and constantly talking about books, I think some readers forget that this all started in an author's brain, right? Like
Yeah.
you get this vision, but then you also are able to take it and make it make sense to everybody, right? It's no longer just a thought. And I think that's what people tend to forget sometimes because they're just like, oh, a book is good or a book is bad. And I'm like, either way, whether I understood a book enough to really love it or not, it's still amazing that someone was able to have this thought and then make all of these characters tangible. And then we learn lessons from it, right? Or we study the work because it's so beautiful, right? And all of this other stuff. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. No, that's what I love too. I mean, I love putting the work out there and then having someone like, like you guys ask me about, siblings in your book, what does that mean? And it's like, oh, I need to think about that more. It's this incredible connection with me and this idea I had, and then talking with my editors, and going back and forth. And that can be a dark period too. It's like, well, this isn't working at all. I don't know if this is going to connect with the readers. I have to make the call. Well, will it? I'm the last arbiter of any decision with the book. And then you go back and you make those changes, and then you connect with the readers, and it's every layer of connection that you have, I think, enriches the work, and just creates a community and an ecosystem around the book that's really beautiful to watch grow over time.
Nice.
Awesome. So, sorry, what were you gonna say, Jess?
I was just gonna ask a quick question. Was there anything
Oh, go ahead.
like editing wise that you wish was in the book that was taken out, or like you're happy with like where it is?
I've mostly been lucky, I think the sweetness of water bought me the opportunity to kind of do what I want to some degree, you know. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I took out. I don't think there is, you know. I can stand behind the work. And maybe I'll regret this if I get, you know, critics panning my book and I can't blame my editor. But I'm gonna stand behind it so far. Yeah.
That's
That's
funny.
that is funny because somebody's probably gonna say something. They always have something to say, and you
Oh
can't just be
yeah.
like, the editor didn't like it. The editor
No,
said
no.
no.
I lost that right.
So, along the same lines with your writing process, was or is historical fiction the genre you always thought you were going to write, or did this come about on a whim?
I always loved historical fiction. You know, going back and thinking about the books, you know, I wouldn't say growing up, but in the last 10 years or so, so much of it is historical fiction. And I think when you're a young writer, when I was in school, it seems like a very difficult thing to write, just in general. I think the default setting is I'm going to write about, you know, for me, a young man, you know, going through day-to-day struggles, being in college or whatever it may be, and this idea that you can go back 50 years, 100 years, and you're gonna have to do all this research. It seems like a big obstacle. So, I mean, when I was in college, I was writing a lot of contemporary stuff. Um, but then I think my last year, I had the idea for the sweetness of water, and I just said, "Why don't you just write a short story? Just write a short story." And it was kind of George meeting a freed slave in the woods, and a moment that they shared that would become the first chapter of the sweetness of water. And I shared it with one of my professors. I remember just kind of getting no sleep that night, knowing I was going to meet him the following day and talk about it. And I sat down, and he said, I think you might have, you know, struck gold here. I said, really? Really? You sure? It's like, I think, I don't know. Keep writing it. And that was all I needed to hear. You just kind of need like a little push sometimes. And that was the push I needed. And then all of a sudden it's like I can write historical fiction. So here we go. You know, I can contribute the sort of, you know, these sweeping, you know, really moving tales from the past that I enjoyed writing or reading so much, excuse me. I can write it. So that's kind of how it happened.
Awesome. Do you think historical fiction will be your only genre, or do you have plans of venturing out? I think a lot of new authors like Akwaeke Emezi or just help me. Who else am I thinking of? Walter Mosley. We mentioned
Walter
him.
Mosley, yeah.
A lot of authors are kind of dabbling in a bunch of different genres. So do you think it'll only be historical fiction, or are you gonna like give us something different?
I'm gonna zag. I'm gonna dabble around. No, you have to. I feel like you don't have to, but there's just so many different modes I want to work in, and there's so much I want to write about that. You can write about a lot in the past. You know, the past always speaks to the present in so many ways, and I think that's really impactful. But you know, sometimes I want to just talk about texting, you know, having a cell phone, you know, driving, you know, like it gets kind of hard writing about wagons. It's the only way to get around somewhere. And just what we're all going through in the world. So what I'm working on right now is actually contemporary.
Mm.
And it's just funny to see how I started off in school writing contemporary stuff, and now going back to it, it feels riskier almost now that I have this foothold in writing historical fiction. It's like, do I still have it in me? You know, but you know, we'll find out. Time will tell.
I'm excited. If I could put in a request,
You
historical
met, yeah.
fantasy. I want more historical
Oh,
fantasy, but that
yes.
reads sort of like high fantasy, not something like
Mhm.
I read. Where's oh, look? It's a bunch of books in here. There's something that I read recently that I was like, okay, almost. It felt
Which
too
book was
contemporary,
that?
although it was,
Hmm.
I don't remember the name of nothing.
I
And I
know.
we
I'm
don't
trying
have
to
to play.
remember. We got
Nathan,
two
we do
brain
this
cells
thing
put
where
together.
I yell out Shelby charades and I just start yelling out like what I can remember about something until she figures it out because there are so many books in my head. I don't
I mean, look at you. Yeah, look at how many books are around. You're surrounded. I don't blame
yeah.
you.
It's my favorite. But yeah, there was a historical fantasy that I read within like the last year that I was like, okay, it was good, but like I wanted the writing to just be that much elevated with magic.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, you'll have to DM me that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
pass that on. And if I can't write it, maybe you're gonna have to write it because it sounds like you have the idea in your head. It might
You
be
know
this one
what?
might be on you.
You know
Okay.
what? Everybody keeps saying that to me. They keep telling me like, Shelby, you should be writing. And I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't see the vision for it
I told
all
you
the
last
way.
episode.
You did.
Yeah.
Try. I'll be interviewing you soon in a few years here, and
Period.
we're gonna
Hmm.
switch spots.
That would be very hilarious because literally, like, I've written like a couple of essays for my Substack, but just stuff like off the top of my head, just my feels about things. And everybody is like, why aren't you doing this more? And I'm like, it don't even sound all that great to me. I feel like everybody is biased. Like, y'all like me already.
Yeah.
So y'all like me already. Of course you think it's good. Y'all already know me. But yeah, no, I want more historical fantasy because just the
Oh,
idea of like our past with magic, right? I think that's something
Mhm.
that people wish, like, if only we could have, right? And then to have that in characters, that would be fun.
didn't like Marlon James do that? I didn't read it. Did you guys read those books?
What
What
is
is
it?
it?
Red,
Leopard, Moon
the
Leopard?
black.
It's
Uh-uh.
Black.
it's Black Leopard, Red Wolf.
There you go.
we,
And the
we
second
all
one
had
is
Sorry,
something
something.
about
Marlon.
a moon.
Marlon, my
Right.
apologies.
Sorry, Marlon. We love
Yeah.
you. I
Yeah,
promise.
we love you.
I read the first one, but when
Same,
I read it, I didn't have enough experience reading fantasy to really appreciate what he was doing.
same.
So a lot of it kind of went over my head. So I need to venture into those again
Same here.
because the only book that I've read by him is The Book of Night Women,
I
which
haven't
I've
Oh,
read
heard.
that one yet as well. It's on my
It's
shelf.
a historical fiction and it is powerful. Like
really?
it is like his voice when he writes is so
Mm,
prominent. Like you can almost hear him. Like his style, like the way he tells the story, there's so much confidence behind it that you don't even question whatever he's saying. Like whatever it is, you
mm.
just it is what it is. That one was really good, but I need to go back
Yeah,
to
voice
the
voice
fantasy.
is so interesting. I mean, because I'll have people tell me, especially with the sweetness of water, that I'm not in it. They say that it has a sort of I don't know, it's a very distant narrator, but they can't feel me as a person, like my friends or my parents, whoever it is. They don't see me in the work, which I always found interesting. And I took as a compliment. And then you have authors like Marlon who, they're so prominent in their work and you can feel them on every page. And one's not no better than the other, but I always find it fascinating to see how authors show up or disappear.
I feel
Yeah,
like
I think
talking to you now, like I feel like
yeah.
you are very much like listening
Oh,
to you
yeah.
speak, like the way that you write makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
It feels soft. It feels
Yeah,
welcoming. I don't know how to explain it. But like with the
cozy.
sweet, yeah, with the sweetness of water, what made it so interesting, especially because I read it with my book club and my best friend, she loves the sweetness of water.
Right.
But it's like very welcoming and it's palatable for people that are not into historical fiction. Like, for instance, I had another book club member and he wasn't into historical fiction at all. And he had other beliefs and other things. And when reading it, he was like so warped into it, like he couldn't put it down. And
I love that.
I think that's what it is with the sweetness of water. It's just very welcoming and cozy and soft as you read it.
Yeah.
You feel that with
Thank you.
Amity too. Like
Yeah.
I think like she said, like one for people that don't usually read historical fiction. Jess and I read a lot of historical fiction. We read a lot of literary fiction.
Hmm.
And I feel like a lot of historical fiction is very harsh. Not that that's a
Yes.
bad thing, but it's like you hit the ground running, or it's like this very, um, I don't necessarily want to say intense, but it's like an emotionally
Can be. Yeah.
like draining process sometimes, which I don't mind, right? Like
Same. Yeah.
I want to go deep. I want to have all of the weird conversations. I want to see all of the things. But I think for some people that is off-putting, right? Whereas your work doesn't feel that way. It's like, oh, we're gonna go on this journey. It is in the past. Like we may have some uncomfortable conversations, but it's gonna be real chill,
Mhm.
right? Like you care
Mhm.
about the characters and you feel like talking to you, you feel that way too. So I think you're in there.
Yes.
Okay, I take it back. But but I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I'm not ashamed to say that I do want my books to be accessible, because I do want to. But I want it to be accessible. But once I have you, yeah, it's gonna be a little rocky at times for sure,
Mhm.
and I want to slip in some deeper themes, some darker themes, and but at the same time, I want readers to stick with it. I want it to be. I don't want to say a positive experience, but I want them to feel like they were rewarded for going on the journey with me as an author. So this is all good to hear. Sounds like I'm
Yeah.
doing it right, maybe.
You
You
are. It felt
are.
like home when we opened this book. We
Yeah.
said, "Yay,
Yes,
finally!"
especially because we both just finished reading another author,
Yes.
Addie E. Kitchens. She wrote
Oh yeah,
Dominion.
Dominion.
You
Yes.
phenomenal,
Too good.
right?
Okay, okay.
So
Too
good.
good.
But it was intense because you like you hit the ground running from the very first page. It's mess, right? And I mean that in the
Mhm.
best way possible. Like it's a very messy book, but she
Mhm.
is like going across all of these like very dark themes in the Black church. But also like it's like you ever seen a TikTok where it's like, okay, you hold my hand, you wait, and then we pull you, like I'm gonna pull you in, like it goes really,
Yeah, it
really
was
fast.
crazy.
But then opening Amity, I was like, oh, I don't have to run. Like,
Yeah.
my nerves not gonna be bad. I could just sit back and chill because Addie had me in here. It was like 3 o'clock
Yeah,
in the morning, and I
we
was
was
like, Jess, you
all
have to wake up and finish this today, right now, because who am I going to talk to? I need a support system. But
it
your
was
books,
crazy.
like, I can sit back and think, right? Like, I can sit with these
Mhm.
characters, get to know them, and just go with them without
Yes.
being a little anxious. Because Dominion had my nerves bad. I was in here like,
It was crazy.
what's going to happen now? Something else?
Yeah, it was a wild time. It was a wild
Both are
time.
great. Both are great. It's like you want to be able to
Hmm.
maybe read both at the same time. You can hop from one to the other
Right.
and
Yes.
ease your nerves with
Yeah.
Amity. I
Hmm.
got to read that one though. I've only heard really good things about it. Occasionally, that's a debut, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think you would
Occasionally,
enjoy
there's a
it.
debut like that. You can almost feel that the author has been dying to tell the story. It's like they're screaming on the page, screaming through the story. And it's
I
nice
felt
to
the
tap
same
into that.
I felt the same way about the sweetness of water that I did about Dominion. My first like reaction to the sweetness of water is if this is his debut, where do we go from
Hmm.
here? Because this
Hmm.
is amazing. So
Yep.
what does next look like,
What's
right?
next? And you left us for a while, so
Not
it
too long.
was
Not
it
too
was a minute.
long.
It was a little long. It was a little long.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I think
it's
that's
But
what
that's
were you gonna
good.
say?
No, for real.
I was I think that dabbling between genres, like we read a lot of independent authors and a lot of the independent romance, they put books out like every
Hmm.
month, every few weeks. So with traditional publishing, like it's natural to wait a year, two, three to get the next book from an author. But I think because we kind of straddle the fence in both worlds, it feels like
Yeah,
forever.
it does.
yeah,
But
that
no,
makes sense.
I get it. I get like you gotta let it marinate. You gotta research and stuff. So I totally get
It's hard. I mean, I kind of envy those authors as well. I've noticed that in with a lot of French writers too, or European writers. They'll kind of do like slim little books every year. Just kind of, I don't know, throw them out there. And there's something really nice about that. You learn so much more about the author, what's on their mind. Like it's almost like a friend. It's like every year you're checking in on them and like what they've been going through. And writing a book like this, it takes a long time, and again, you're on your own for a long time. It's like some authors said it's like going out on this expedition to like a hunting expedition. And you don't know if you're gonna come
Mhm.
back with pelts, and like having succeeded or you're gonna die out there and they're gonna have to come find you. So it can just be a lot in this way of doing it. So sometimes I wish I could just kind of have a bunch of small books. Maybe I will. I don't know. I can switch it up. We'll
I would
see.
like that.
Love it. How do you think the themes in your book resonate with today's conversation about race, identity, and justice?
Yeah. So I thought about this question. I think the easy answer is just to say that all of the problems that Pullman and June face, we're just still dealing with today in some form or fashion. But I was thinking about it deeper, and for whatever reason, this line from Michelle Obama came up that, being a person of color in the country, you have to do everything doubly, you have to put in double the effort to get half as far. And for whatever reason, that came to mind when I thought of Coleman and when I was writing Coleman. And, he's this character. Again, I guess whoever's listening hasn't, engaged with him yet, but, he speaks very well. He's a very formal person. He is well read, and considers himself, an intellectual to some degree. But he's very insecure, and you can tell that, from his history, being enslaved and what he's been through, he feels like he needs to perform this version of himself in order to I don't know, become this evolved version of who he thinks he should be, and he's struggling with that pretty much with on every page that you read. So that's what came to mind. Frederick Douglass talks about that as well. This
Mhm.
becoming this refined character, and yeah, following Coleman on that journey and sort of being there with him. I still think that's still very present. I felt that way myself growing up. And I think he feels it too. And I think a lot of Black Americans feel it.
Yeah. When reading Coleman and that part of his story and being well read, it made me think of James by Percival Everett immediately. And there was another book I read recently. I can't remember now. But James was the first one
Yeah,
that
yeah.
came to mind when it came, because the whole book is about code switching in a sense, and like being well read but hiding it,
Hmm.
or being questioned for being well read.
I haven't read it yet, but
You're
it's just
gonna
been hard.
love
It's
it.
I get
I'm
it.
going, yeah, it's hard in my
Yeah.
position. Is I didn't want to be, impacted by it. Now I'm dying to read it. So believe me, I got it. It's gonna happen soon here.
Yeah.
It came to mind for me too because of the scene on the boat. There's a similar scene
Mhm.
in James where the boat sinks. Like there's a very similar scene having a similar conversation as well.
Interesting.
Down to the kid covered in soot in
Oh,
the cold.
crazy.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah. I always try to think of like when I recommend books or when I review books, I try to think of other things that people could read that will either like prepare them for Amity, let's say, like if this is going to be their first historical fiction, something that they could like ease them into it so that they have a better experience. Because sometimes when you just jump into a genre, it's the lay of the land, you need to get comfortable. And I already had in my mind that I was going to pair James with Amity like immediately
so
because
that, yeah,
there
Yeah.
are a lot of like parallels with it. But I always like the idea of a similar story being told different ways. So Percival Everett I like to call him a troll,
Yeah.
because he's very funny.
Mhm.
He is every older black uncle that you can think of. It's him.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like it gives people different perspectives,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I think I'm more I'm more of a softie. I'm a sentimentalist at heart, and he doesn't really have that. And
No, not at all.
but to be paired with him, that's the ultimate compliment. That's
That's
good company.
yeah. You know, another one is the book I'm thinking about is The Great Man. It is a little bit of code switching and like talking through that back and forth with Charlie, who comes from the South over to live with his cousin in Los Angeles. And he is questioning her, like, why are you talking like this? Why are you leaving your
Mm,
roots out? So there's like a similar conversation, and it's also historical fiction. And it would also pair in this way as well with Amity in that conversation that they have right there.
interesting. We need
Mhm.
like a bundle, you know. I have to call my
Yeah.
publisher and they can like put them all together. We good.
Look, if they need some help, tell them call
Yes.
us. We could put it
Yeah,
together for them.
you guys can
We
do it.
got
All
it.
right.
We
We
could
All
do
got
it.
right.
it.
Between the both of us, like we've read enough books between the two of us to be able to say, like, oh, we got 4 or 5 books that you could bundle with this that'll, you know, reach every reader. I think that's something that's important to me right now. As a book club host, like as a person that
Mhm.
is recommending tons of books in the year, is to make sure that every type of reader is met, right?
Mm,
Because I can't assume that just because you're following me that you read at the same level that I do. And even if you don't, like that's fine. We all started somewhere, but you could still read it. You might just have to do, you might have to read something else first to get you there. So like
Mhm.
that's always important to me.
Yeah.
yeah. I want teachers to be more like that too. I mean, it makes me sad thinking about I mean, I read a lot of books I didn't enjoy growing up. It turned me off of reading at points. And I
Mhm.
wish there was, individuals like you guys who could pair up students with books that would be perfect for them so we can just inspire more people to actually, love reading. Because I think everybody would love reading if they found the right books. It's just
Yes.
Yes.
we fail to match them
Yes.
with them so often.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
that conversation online not too long ago about reading levels and understanding maybe you're outgrowing this book or maybe this book isn't
Yes.
necessary for you. And I think people forget when they get back into reading that they stop at a certain level and they have to work their way back up to a level that's suited for you and you just climb up. It's all about growth. And I wish like that concept was understood, like you said, especially for young kids, especially like for me when I was in school, I stopped once I got into college. Like I just stopped reading. I was like reading all through high school like crazy, but then that change in pace of like you have to get college work done. It's a different schedule. You accidentally booked a class at 8 a.m. on a Friday, so you got a whole different like
Mhm.
lifestyle. And I wish more people would understand and figure out that transition about like meeting them where they at right
Right.
now. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Something else that I always ask people, like when people come to me and they say, like, oh, Shelby, you raved about this book and I didn't like it. I always say, did you not like it or did you not understand it? Because those are
Mm,
feelings that feel very similar, right?
Mm.
It feels the same, but they're very different. Because if you understood it or if you were open to a different perspective, maybe you would feel a little differently.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You want to be able to, if you're part of a book club and you show up, you can tell if someone didn't, yeah, get it. And they're just talking about all the things they hate about it, but it's really not they hate it. You have to meet a book on its own terms, where it is. And some people are coming at the book from this totally different place and perspective. And they're not even, engaging what the author's trying to accomplish in the work,
Mhm.
So that can be hard. You just talk, by one another in those circumstances. So I get what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
we always I always just try to tell people like listen to the authors speak. Like go to the book tour if you can.
Yes.
Watch them, listen to them on podcasts because the author is always going to place you where they want you to be before you start something. You just have to listen to them speak instead of going into the work blind because all you have is your understanding of whatever the subject matter is.
Yeah. I send videos to my book club
Same.
of like the author. So like this month we're reading Jamaica Kincaid. I sent a whole bunch of like videos and interviews of her speaking about work. May not be about the book that we're reading, right? But it is just her speaking about her experience and who she is and whatnot.
It's so funny because authors will say, everything I have to say is in the book. That's it. You don't have to ever hear from me other than that. I've heard that. I'll be like, yeah, yeah. But they're not thinking of it from your perspective or from the perspective of so many people who don't read that often. They're off in their own little literary world. And you're 100% right. I think we need to meet readers where they are. And often that's not just on the page, and it's important to have these conversations, to offer a different perspective and to illuminate what's going on in your work.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the characters in the book, Isaac, he felt like he stepped out of a Beverly Jenkins romance novel. So my question to you is, have you read any Beverly Jenkins? Have you read any of her historical romance?
So the question is really, have you heard of her? And I hadn't. I looked up Beverly Jenkins. It's kind of getting hot over here. I mean, kind of bow tie stripping stuff. I mean, I was like, whoa, okay, Beverly. No, I haven't, but I might have to get into it. It looks
Oh my God.
it looks
So
like it'd be a lot
Isaac,
of fun.
yes,
Isaac is,
Isaac reminded me of Topaz. Jess and I
yes.
read that earlier this year. The male main character is Dixon Wildhorse. He is a police
It's
officer,
in
for lack of
Wild
better
Mhm.
Horse.
words. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dixon
Wow.
Wildhorse. And he is looking for this man that owes him money.
Mhm.
But the man says, I don't have any money, but I can offer you my daughter, who is a virgin. She's a little bit older than you might want, but you can have my daughter because I don't have the money and I don't want you to kill me. So they have this like forced proximity, uh, like romance or whatever, and she falls in love with him over time. But it was just something about Isaac that I was like, I think it's time to read some more Beverly Jenkins because he he feels like Beverly Jenkins writes these male characters that are just like, how do I take him out of the book so that I could date him for myself?
Mhm. Mhm.
So
She has a
Isaac
way with
reminded me of that.
words.
She does.
She
And
has
the
a way.
history of it all. I think so many people
Yes.
think that romance is not a serious genre. Like romance gets so much slack and all of these moral things that people have about, romance, blah, 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 blah. Whereas Beverly Jenkins, you are actually learning things about history. Like you're learning things that you probably would have never thought of when she also is portraying our ancestors as human, right? Like, of course they wanted love. Like, of course they had
Hmm.
all of these feelings that we don't think about because all we know our ancestors as sometimes is their hardships.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I love the idea of making romance the forefront or centering it all together. That's a beautiful thing. Like I was saying, being a sentimentalist, I love is great, We need more love in our books. And
Yeah.
yeah, especially with characters that yeah, it can feel sometimes that yeah, the trauma is always what's centered. And that can just be that's one of the things when I'm reading historical fiction about Black characters. It's just like, man, it's hard to sit with the suffering constantly.
Mhm.
And I already feel it enough. So yeah, I might need what's his name? Dixon
Dixon Wildhorse,
Leatherhorse.
the
I might
wild
need some more
horse.
Dixon Wildhorse in my life. That might
Yes.
just be
Yeah.
the
Yes.
solution here. So I
Beverly
again
Jenkins
another
books,
compliment. Yeah.
her books they're easy to get through, but they will because you love historical fiction, they will like
Mm.
feed that craving for that, the themes, the whatever. You'll get all of that. My favorite one by her is Indigo. Um, Indigo was my first introduction to Beverly Jenkins, and I've been obsessed ever since.
You're gonna have to just send me a list of all our. I just need them all. I don't know what's after this. Because I'm interested. You've given me about 5 to 10 books I need to read. So
Yeah, no, but I'm telling you, as soon everything that June was describing, like with her interaction with Isaac, I was like,
That was
this
six.
it's Dixon Wild Horse. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
him all over again. Like in my head, they're like long lost cousins or something.
Yeah,
It
man,
was
maybe they know each other. They know each other's
In
relatives or
passing,
something. Yeah, exactly.
mm-hmm.
The worlds are
in passing.
connected.
And you know what? Actually, saying that, so she has a series with the Levesque brothers, and they are from New Orleans.
Oh,
And
see?
a lot of the brothers worked on the Underground Railroad. Like that was their thing. That's how they kind of ran into a lot of their um love interests. So yes, in our minds now,
Sense. Yeah,
they are long lost cousins or something down the line.
something here. How do you
Mm-hmm.
guys read so much? How much are you guys reading? Like, not to turn this interview around, but
How do we read so much?
No, we read in every format.
Yes.
We
okay.
listen. We have a Kindle or Kobo,
Mhm.
and then of course physical. So like you kind of rotate between. So like right now I'm reading Annie John physically, and then also Amity at the same time. Like I was just
Okay.
reading, going back and forth between that. Annie John is actually moving faster than expected, so it's a great pairing. And then I'm listening to The Catch by Yersa. What's her last?
Dally Ward.
There we go. And then I think that's it. And then I'm reading on my Kindle Cappadonna by Jacques J.
That's
Sorry, that's like
crazy.
a far left.
Crazy.
So that's
um,
literally how it goes.
so yeah, I
Dang.
think that's pretty much the gist of it. I do the same thing. So my two physical reads right now are Amity, and I started Birth of a Dynasty, which is a debut fantasy. Um Listening to Plus Size Player by Daniel Allen, and then on my Kindle. So I'm very neurodivergent, very neurospicy household here. Um, for whatever reason, my mind won't let me read anything other than fantasy. I mean, anything other than romance on my Kindle. So
Mm.
I
Same.
read all of my indie Black romance authors on my Kindle. So I know I opened something last night. I didn't start it. But then on my Kobo, I'm reading Sugar by Bernice L. McFadden, which is like Sula Jr., I want to call it. Like, it's like Sula if we actually got to follow Sula when she left.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
before she, like if we got to like
Mm,
do all of that with Sula. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's one I tell people all the time, the only thing that I actually want to do every day is read. So it's not hard
mm.
for me to pick up a book. Everything else is extra.
Yeah. And on top of
Everything else is
that,
extra.
we do it while we are like, so like I'll do my 2 mile walks. I'll listen to an
Yes.
audiobook. Or like if
Mm,
I'm
okay.
driving far, LA got traffic, so I can sit and listen for hours. You know,
Yeah.
like
But
we
the
vibing.
audio is a separate book. It's not like you're
Yeah.
reading it and then it's like I gotta push forward on the
No.
Mm-mm.
simultaneous.
Now, we both do what the bookish community calls immersive reading. So there will be, I'll read and listen to an audiobook at the same time, and it'll be the same thing. So I do that a lot with Toni Morrison. I'll listen and I'll read just to make sure that I'm like picking up on everything. I just got R.F. Kuang's new book. I have to think about
Catabasis.
saying it.
Or was it?
Katabasis.
I thought she
Katabasis.
said she's also said it was Catabasis.
So in the interview, she said, say it however you want to. But now that I know
Okay.
that it's Katabasis, I can't let myself say the other way because I know better. So I'm
That's
supposed to
true.
do better.
Well,
um,
she can't tell you to say it anyway and then say this is the way to say it. Or, I mean,
But
there's a way that she says it, and that's the right way, right? I mean, she
yeah,
wrote it, didn't she? I don't know.
her
she was,
explanation was like words are, you know, pronounced different ways. You do it how you want it. We
yeah, she was
shouldn't.
like, her
She's being
perspective was
diplomatic.
like,
Yes.
yeah, it was very much that. She's like, depending on where you're from, your accent, like you could say it however you want, sort of thing, but it's Katabasis. That'll be something that I will read and listen to at the same time because, and this is no insult. R.F. Kuang, if you happen to be listening to this, I mean this in the kindest way possible. Her books read like textbooks.
They
So I
read like
need
textbooks. Oh my
I
God.
need both to
Yes.
like really get into it because if I just read it or if I just listen to it, I'll zone out.
I'm
So I'm
falling
gonna
asleep.
need both. So that makes things
Mhm.
quicker too. We also both listen to audiobooks sped up. So like I can't listen to an audiobook at one speed because that sounds like Snoopy's teacher. It sounds like womp 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 womp. Like it sounds like they are
Mhm.
talking in
Oh,
slow motion and it drives me absolutely insane. So at a minimum, I'm listening to a book at like 1.8 speed.
Yeah.
So that'll take a 10-hour book and make it like 7 hours. So
Six.
that's
Yeah.
not, that's nothing. 7 hours for a book is nothing.
Hmm.
easy work. Okay. That's interesting, guys. That's for that.
I think between the both of us on average, like at a minimum, we both read about 8 books a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at 8. Almost. I think if I finish Amity by the end of the month, which is like in 2, 3 days, that'll
Hmm.
be my ninth book. And if I finish The Catch by then, that'll be my 10th book.
You have to finish The
I give
Catch.
you permission. Just speed through it. Speed through Amity. You can just turn. Yeah, we can count.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's all right.
it's I'm I'm always reading. And then like my mom is a reader too. So like I come from readers.
Yeah.
And I'm my mom's only child. I have siblings, but I didn't grow up in the same house with my sisters. So like it's always just been me and my mom. So like all of the hobbies that we have don't necessarily require other people because we like to be like alone but together, you know?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of aids in it too, because if I'm not if my mom and I aren't doing something together, she has her headphones in because she's listening to a book. I'm either physically reading or listening to a book. There's always a book somewhere.
Always a book going on somehow, some way.
Hmm.
It's yeah. For me, I don't know, going studying English in school, and I got so trapped in being a close reader, and you're reading this book, and you need to take your time to really understand each word, each paragraph, and study the prose. And it's really nice to hear this other side of things. I should lean into this side. You read to
Hmm.
enjoy it, read it for pleasure, which I do, of course. But this you guys take it to a whole nother level that I really admire.
I think I was an English literature major and I went through that as well, where the only way that I could consume a book was by looking at it to um analyze it, right? Like that's what they trained me to do. That's just how my mind works. But what really shifted that perspective for me, because I have all of these thoughts about like how we are taught to read, what we are taught is actually literature and like that sort of thing, especially in the Black community. Reading independent romance shifted that perspective for me because it forced me to just have to have fun. It's not gonna make sense. He's this kingpin drug dealer, okay, but he also is this soft teddy bear for this woman that he met and just decided that they were gonna go together. In real life, I would have called the authorities. But on the
Hmm.
page, this is a grand time. I'm
It's a
having
great
fun.
time.
They're
It's a
having
great
like a
time.
shootout on the highway, a highway that I've driven on, and none of that makes sense. But it doesn't have to because I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I love it. You just buy in. You just enjoy the story for what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
You just have to. So independent romance did that for me because I had
Yeah.
to separate myself, or even like the book that Jess talked about, Cappadonna by Jaquel J. That whole series
Is
is so
so good.
intertwined that like I need people to understand that this is like George R. R. Martin level of like interconnection. Like the way she has written these families, how they are connected to each other, phenomenal. Like she is like really doing a thing with this, but because it's urban fiction, people are not going to give her the credit, right? Because that's not real literature,
Yeah.
right? It's not traditionally published. It's not about, it's not literary fiction, or there are too many errors, or it's about drug dealers. So we can't learn anything from it, or we can't X, Y, and Z. Whole time I'm like, I read a lot of books and she is like doing there
Yeah.
is skill and technique here, albeit indie romance.
The way she writes a cliffhanger should be
I
studied.
mean,
This is crazy.
It's ridiculous. Like the way she kind of forces you to just go into her next book, like you will be up for days because it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I finished the one book. I'm not gonna read nothing else. I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I got stuff to do tomorrow. But then the cliffhanger, you're like, okay, I at least need to read the first chapter to make sure these characters are okay.
Alive.
Because are they alive? What's happening? But there's all
It's a
of this,
skill. That's a skill that should be taught, and I read enough literary work where I wish they could take a class with her, who
right?
it's all that you're talking about. So yeah, I admire that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her books are my
What's her
mom,
name?
Jaquel J. I'll send you a
Add it to the list. Add it
I'll
to the
add it to the
list.
We'll add it to
list.
the list.
But like my whole family at this point, like my mom, my aunts, like so many people, just because I was on the internet, like this is ridiculous. Like somebody has to read this so that I can talk to them about it. Like I feel like I'm in the book, and every person that I've recommended it to, they are like, I probably would have never picked this up on my own, but thank you because this was so much fun.
You're an ambassador for the author, That's that real word of mouth success right there.
Yeah, no, her work speaks for itself because I remember in the beginning when I was telling Jess, I would just give her like bits. I would be like, the man, she was kidnapped and he went on a motorcycle, the car flipped
Yeah,
over.
clear that
I
out.
thought they was dead. She was like, Shelby, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you have to read them. I'm telling you, I can't even tell you all of what's happening in the book because so many things are happening.
It's so much. That was me at the party. I went to a party. I was reading Capone. Capone is Cappadonna's brother. That's the first set of books. We'll send you the list.
Okay.
But I was
Okay.
reading Capone at a birthday party because I was just it was so intense. And this boy, he was like, "What are you reading?" And I was like, "Do you really want to know?" He was like, "Yeah, I really want to know." And I told him, and he was like, I don't, what is happening? I was like, you got to read it. You just got to read it. And he downloaded it. And I got him. I don't even know if he's read it to the day, but he downloaded it.
That's the first step. That's the first step.
Definitely the
Love
first
it.
step. All right, Jess, you want to do rapid fire before we
Yeah.
round this out?
All right. So rapid fire, this or that. So you just got to say which one you prefer. No explanation. Maybe we'll ask
Okay.
that explanation if it's like crazy, but like,
Right.
just,
Right. I got you.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. So first up, handwritten draft or digital draft?
Digital.
Writing at home or out in public?
Oh, at home.
Read literary fiction or read sci-fi?
Literary fiction.
Read Toni Morrison for only the rest of your life or read James Baldwin only for the rest of your life?
No, it's Toni Morrison. James would get a little suffocating after a while. You could be on a desert island with Toni Morrison novels and you could always find something new in there. So
Facts. Okay, those were my questions.
no,
Those
that
are
was
Some good
good. I was
answers.
ready. I was just getting started.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
stop.
yeah.
I could have kept going.
Next time we'll save some more time. We should do like 15 minutes of that. Yeah, I'm gonna bring some too.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah, I like
got you.
it.
We got you. All right, cool.
Yeah.
What is last question? Who are like your favorite authors?
Oh man. Ooh, so many. I'll just try to Toni Morrison. Always. I was just rereading Sula, and it's as good as it ever was. James McBride. I love
Oh,
the stuff that he accomplishes is the humor that he has and the epic feel is like everything, the sense of community between the character that love everything that he's up to. Let's see. Jasmine Ward's fantastic.
you speaking our language.
You might be our new book
Yeah.
bestie.
Yeah? Add
Because
me
you
in
are
there?
speaking.
You just
We
gotta be on
might
the
have to
podcast.
add you to
Yeah.
the group chat
Yeah.
because
All right.
you speaking our language.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like to hear it. That's a good start. Yeah, yeah.
I can
Okay,
see
so now I
that.
want to know what's your
Yeah.
favorite Jasmine Ward book?
Sing Unburied Sing.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. What about you guys?
Because I love Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Let Us Descend.
I was
I
gonna
Yep.
say that.
I read all her books. I love her. She is someone else that I like. I got real close to meeting her, but I was like, I'm gonna embarrass myself and my mother. I'm not gonna do this. But Let Us Descend, just to see the evolution of her conversation about grief throughout all of her
Mm.
books. And to see it kind of rounded out with Let Us Descend is that it has to be that one.
That first page was amazing. It
We
really
would
Yes.
need to have we need an hour to go through it. I have a lot of thoughts about that, but
okay.
let's save that.
No, for sure. What's your
Yeah.
favorite James McBride book?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I think especially with Amity coming out, a good way to circle back to Amity. The Good Lord Bird. That
Yes.
was honestly an inspiration to my book. To see him sort
I can
of,
see that. Mhm.
yeah, jump into the past and sort of, you could tell that he didn't take himself too seriously with it, and he was willing to sort of just go wherever I know he loves jazz, and you can kind of feel on the page how
Yes.
he improvises,
Yes.
and
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
this
Yes.
sort of will go wherever. And I wanted to kind of tap into that myself, and just sort of yeah, just trust the characters and trust the story to just go wherever and just follow it. And yeah, he manages that so well. Really in
Yeah.
everything he writes. But yeah, that's a good one.
So The Good Lord Bird, that was another book that came to mind. But then Amity also makes me think of Lone Women by Victor LaValle.
I haven't read it.
So that one kind of has like a kind of a fantasy aspect to it. Victor LaValle likes creatures. Like a lot of his books are kind of that there's always a creature or a spooky thing, or ghost or whatever. But Lone Women takes place around the same time that Amity does, but they were moving out west.
Okay.
Um, and she has this steamer trunk that has a thing in it. So we spend the book trying to figure out like what's in her steamer trunk and why is
Hmm.
she fleeing with it. Um, but it also touches on that sibling relationship, right? There's a sibling relationship in that as well.
Mm.
Yeah. I'll add it. Add to the list. At this point, it's gonna be years until I finish it, but let's get that going. I appreciate it,
Uh,
guys.
yeah,
No
yeah. I can
problem.
see all those authors in your book now. Like it makes
Really?
sense.
It
Yeah,
makes
no,
sense. It
like
makes a lot of
legit.
sense.
Okay.
Like with Tony, with your description, like how you describe things, very Tony. Very Tony.
That's you giving me a lot of compliments. That might be the best though, because no one does it as well as she does. That's for sure. Talk
No.
about a master. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What was the thing? What did we say that one time to describe Toni Morrison, like how she describes things? Is it sex or is it a flower?
Yes. Is it sex or is it a
Sex or is
flower?
it a flower?
Yeah.
That's you describe things in a similar way.
Yeah. Like we don't know what we're reading, but we know
Right,
like
like we
it's
know what it
beautiful.
is, but it's what is that? It's
What is
provocative.
happening? Yeah.
Provocative. You guys are a trip.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, in the best way. We'll have to do this again. I had a
Yeah.
great time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. So thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you
If you
guys.
guys, all of our social media links and things will be in the description. And we will see you guys next week. Bye,
Yes.
friends.
And buy Amity today.
Oh yes, buy Amity today.
Yeah, bye, Amity.
Go to your nearest local bookstore and buy Amity.
Mhm. Yes. Bye, guys.
Okay.